Hey everyone, this amazing ESO Network show is brought to you by our fine sponsor, Amazon.com. Please remember to shop Amazon for all your geeky needs, no matter what time of the year it is. All you need to do is go to esopodcast.com/ESO Amazon, or click on the Amazon banner on the ESO Network webpage to go to our e-store. It's the best way to shop and the best way to support this program, and it doesn't cost you anything extra. Okay, that's enough of me babbling for now. Now on with your regular scheduled show.
Hello, Marvel Universe! The Earth Station MCU podcast is your home for all things related to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Join our debrief as we discuss Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Carter, upcoming and past favorite Marvel movies, cosplay, comics history, toys, games, interviews, and all things MCU. Whether you're a hero or a villain, a new viewer, or have been reading comics since you were a kid, there's something for you on Earth Station MCU.
Hello and welcome again to the Monster Sci-Fi Show podcast. I am your host, The Monster, back to give you another sci-fi news for this week. And in a bit of a different setting, I'm actually doing this from bed. I'm not being perverted or anything like that, but I've been really tired and lazy, so I brought all my equipment with me. And I'm doing this in bed. I figured I still need to get this out. I planned for this all week, but I just needed the rest. So, and apparently I still need more rest. Alright, so before I get into the big three topics, which I normally do for each week, just a quick recap of what I've been watching. I've been, since yesterday, just kind of caught up with all my shows from the CW, which is The Flash, Arrow, and Legends of Tomorrow, and Supergirl. So there was the big musical number that happened with Flash and Supergirl. For the most part, decent enough. There was one great song, which I loved, but the rest of the episode was okay. It was fine. So it wasn't as much as I love with the big 4-episode crossover, like the Heroes versus Aliens phenomenon. But it was decent enough. It was enjoyable. The other thing, too, that I finally caught up with, I pushed myself to go through, is Iron Fist episode 4. So, if there's anything positive about this, is that the actress who plays Colleen Wing on the show is actually quite good, and I've actually enjoyed her performance more than anything else. A little bit more compelling of a character than Danny Rand, the Iron Fist. And let's see, there's the second season, episode 1 of Voltron on Netflix that I just watched, and I kind of binge watched this morning Timeless, which I have seen bits and pieces, and I started from the beginning. I kind of understand its premise, but it's still, I know it's getting picked up for a second season, but it's nothing hard sci-fi. It's just a plot device, and it's more drama than anything else. It's okay. So I also watched a Fox show called Making History. So it's even more ludicrous, but it's more in a sense of goofy fun. And of course, we have on ABC Time After Time, which is I'm not going to say a ripoff, but it's basically retelling of the movie that started back in the 70s with Malcolm McDowell and David Warner and Mary Steenburgen, which still holds up better than what I saw on the first episode. So maybe I'll talk about this in the future, about time travel stories on TV, but so aside from all the binge watching, I'm just basically taking it easy for this weekend. So, for my big three topics for this week, I'm going to be talking about Starblazers. I'm going to be talking about Twin Peaks, which is on the current issue of Entertainment Weekly, and in a previously recorded conversation, my wife and I recorded and our conversations basically on watching the second Justice League trailer, which came out yesterday. So that's what it's going to be happening for this podcast. So let's get on to the first topic.
Fighting with the Gamelons, we won't stop until we've won. Then we'll return, and when we arrive, the Earth will survive with our Starblazers.
All right, so if you are like me, not necessarily right now in bed, but I grew up watching Starblazers. And I remember specifically waking up super early and watching every single episode each morning as before I go to school. And what was interesting about it is that basically this race called Gamelons bombarded Earth with these radioactive meteors. So basically the surface became uninhabitable, so everyone had to live underground. But then we got word from someone in a distant planet that had a cure, and basically the space battleship Yamato was the only ship that was going to make this journey. And within the body of the song, if you hear, it gives you the premise is that I have 1 year to make this trip, and it's round trip, in order to find this cure. And if not, then basically Mother Earth, again, referencing to the song, will disappear. So at the end of every episode, there was a countdown of how many days were left. So I got really engaged by this series, and not to give anything away, but basically they are successful in getting the treatment and making Earth great again. Earth great again. But the series continued 2 more seasons after that, in which there were an even greater reward that was coming up. And there were newer ships than the Yamato that was able to have better weapons than its own wave gun. But it was a massive war, and again, what was the only thing to survive was the Yamato after all it had been said and done. So I have a fondness for the show. I've always wanted to own it, or at least rewatch it again in that order of seasons 1 through 3. Back in the 90s, Disney had optioned the rights to Starblazers to make it a live-action movie. And it really never came to season or never came to fruition, but the idea was that they're going to kind of make it similar to its premise, but make it Americanized, and we'll talk about that another time. But they want to use it for, instead of the Yamato, make it as the United States battleship, the Arizona, to save Earth. So when that fell apart, I think it was in 2006, there was another writer who came on board, but nothing came of it. Now, back in 2010, there was a live-action space battleship Yamato, which I finally got to see last night. So I spent 2+ hours watching this online, and this is through Daily Motion. So if you're interested, you can find the movie there. It's broken up in parts, but it's letterboxd, it's subtitled, so it's perfect. So my only complaint was that again, because you had a series that lasted for 3 seasons, the story they were trying to do was basically compress that first season into just 2 hours. So I appreciate for what they were doing, but it just, to me, not enough to be compelling like the series, because you had a lot more time to really delve into what the journey was going to be about, and so it was fine. But again, I would appreciate more of a retelling that's a little bit better. And the reason why I'm thinking about the that incident with the Arizona, because of the whole whitewashing thing, that I understand a couple points in the sense that if you're making this for an international audience, you want to make sure that wherever this is going to be playing overseas, that you would have some diversity so that people can recognize themselves or their characters and what they do. But if they were going to go make this a straight American version, and make it the Arizona, not the Yamato, I'm not sure that that would work. I don't see that being workable. But then again, when I watched the live action movie, the whole point was that struck me was that it seems like Japan was leading the fight to save Earth, all of us. So I don't sure whatever happened to the United States or to Russia or whatever, but Japan was still surviving. So it was up to them to be the heroes of their story, which in turn should be the story for us as well. So just because they are not like us doesn't mean the story is not for us. It is. So I'm just wondering if, based on the new news, of someone being hired to rewrite the script, if this is going to take in consideration of what has been happening. We have the new Power Rangers movie that just came out. We have Ghost in the Shell coming out next week with Scarlett Johansson. So if characters originate someplace else that is not set in America, would audiences still find it compelling? Well, it's also kind of similar to what Iron Fist is having a problem with, because I think you would have been okay if Iron Fist was of a different race or even maybe a different gender altogether, rather than just being the traditional white guy. So, again, I'm not going to harp on the whole whitewashing as much, but still, it's enough to be cognizant that if this script and this story and this movie is going to go forward, I think it has to realize that today's audiences is made up differently, because we're not just talking about the US as the main focus, but internationally, that has to be taken into consideration. Oh, so the director for this is going to be Christopher McQuarrie. So he did the Rogue Nation for Mission Impossible #5. So he's working on the next one. So after that, that's when we're going to get something done altogether. Um, but it's going to be a while. But it seems to be at least moving a little bit more forward than it was in the past. So we'll see whatever happens, but I'm eager to see how this is going to come together. And we'll see, because a lot of problems with live action versions of anime movies or series is the translation to practical effects or special effects, stuff that you're able to easily do in animation, just come out a bit too cartoonish, and it doesn't come across well enough that it's compelling. A good example is Wicked City. It's a great series a great movie that I watched. great anime, but the live version just like, Akira is another good one that can be made into a great live action movie, but that's also almost like sacred ground. You don't want to screw that up. And if they do, God forbid, you're the one attached to that. So, but we'll see what happens with Starblazers. All right, so let's move on to our second topic, which is Twin Peaks. All right, so for this second part, I'm going back in time, so to speak. 25 years ago, I was 25 years old. Fancy that. So this is way before I had any kids, before I had a wife. All I had was TV. Seems familiar, doesn't it? Here I'm talking about TV 25 years later in bed, but with kids now. Um, but Twin Peaks is finally coming back, and the cover that's on Entertainment Weekly is 3 different covers for the entire cast. So if you put all 3 covers together, you get this big, long, wide shot of the entire cast with um, David Lynch sitting at a table in the middle, kind of almost not, Jesus and the Last Supper kind of motif, but it's close enough. But I will be making an effort to review at least the first episode. So we are going to get 18 hours worth of Twin Peaks, and the first episode is going to be 2 hours long. Now, of course, this is going to be on Showtime, which I don't have, but I will make an effort to find it. Now, what's cool about this is that if you're a Twin Peaks fan, there was already a couple of books. There was an audio tape or audio version of Dale Cooper's audio tapes that he would record and send to Diane. And if you know that character, then you'll understand the audio reference because he used to have a tape recorder and make notes to Diane. And the Diary of Laura Palmer was written by David Lynch's daughter. So that was also a great book because that was the leading up to behind the scenes of whatever happened to Laura Palmer. And then there was a new book, which I forgot that it came out already in October. And it's in my wife's library branch, which she's working today, and I told her to go get it for me. So I'm eager to see it, but it's called The Secrets of Twin Peaks. So I'm dying to find out some more information about it and get back into that world. And I do own the second season of Twin Peaks, which really, the first season, that whole mystery about who killed Laura Palmer is what makes that series memorable. And of course, you add in Julie Cruz's music with her vocals, Angelo Badalamenti, his score is what really is the icing on the cake. It's haunting and it's beautiful and it's menacing all at the same time. So I'm eager to hear this all come together and see how this all really does play out. Because if you remember, at the end of towards the end of season 2, Dale Cooper was told something will happen in about 25 years, and that's exactly what has happened. Is that these characters have aged, some more gracefully than others. Kyle MacLachlan almost looks the same, but Sherilyn Fenn, who looks a lot like of a co-worker of mine I used to work with, and watching her play Audrey, it was uncanny how similar the mannerisms are. So seeing how this now character is going to be 25 years older, I'm curious to see how much of a change is going to be, not just her, but everyone else. And of course, with Bob, who is the the serial killer or the embodiment spirit that inhabited Leland, the father of Laura Palmer, who wound up killing his own daughter. So, sorry if you don't know what Twin Peaks is and I just spoiled it. But Bob then inhabited the body of Dale Cooper. So, the cliffhanger was he was looking in a mirror and he smashes his forehead into the glass and it's cracked, but on the other side of the image is the image of Bob. So I'm not sure how this is going to play out because the actor who plays Bob is dead. We're also missing the log lady, which I think she also just recently passed away, as well as Miguel Ferrer, who is one of the agents that worked along with Agent Cooper. So this was, I think, one of his last performances. So it's going to be kind of bittersweet to see Twin Peaks again. But my God, that first season, you cannot have us pulled me away from TV for anything. That was the days when you had to watch TV at that time. There was no... well, I could have recorded it on my VHS recorder, but there was no way you can watch it online the next day, or because constantly everyone in the office that I worked with, this is when I was working at a film production company, were like constantly big fans of this. So anytime that episode aired, the next day I had to be with it, but nonetheless, I was with it all the way. So I'm eager for something new with David Lynch, and I loved his stuff since Blue Velvet. Of course, his movie of Dune. So we'll see what happens. I have no idea what's going to be about other than these characters are coming back 25 years later, and it's coming to be on May 21st. So it's only going to be, let's say it's 26. So actually 2 more months from now, just about 2 months from now, we'll get to see our first episode. So I will be talking it then. And wow, I'm really excited about this. All right, so now I'm going to be playing next is the trailer for Justice League. This is the second trailer that was released yesterday. And I will come back with my wife and I talking about our reactions to that.
Yeah. We have to be ready. You, me, the others. There's an attack coming from far away.
Not coming, Bruce. It's already here. The others. Where are they?
Arthur Curry, the Aquaman. It's on him.
Organic and biomechatronic body parts. He's a cyborg.
You should probably move. Barry Allen.
Whoever you're looking for, it's not me. You're the Batman?
They said the Age of Heroes would never come again.
It has to.
What are your superpowers again?
I'm rich.
One thing I can tell you is you got to be free.
My turn.
Come together. Right now. Come together. Right now.
Shall we?
It's good to see you playing well with others again. Just like a bat. I dig it.
Maybe temporary.
Yeah!
Okay. First impressions. I liked it. Second impression.
I'm a mime.
You're a douchebag. Third impression. I'm still mad at you. Fourth impression. Hi. Okay. Now, Arthur Curry. Yes, breakout character, whatever. I don't give a shit.
Okay.
All right. So I'm talking now. So, what nationality is he besides fish? You know, besides Atlantean, which is like the whole story, is that he has to be Atlantean. Because, you know, they have no imagination to come up with another world under the sea. So, Atlantis, who has been around since, like, Plato's time, or before. Okay, now.
And Socrates.
I don't think that he's American.
No.
Even though they always make sure, they seem that he's American. He, like, lives in Maine, or New England, or Nova Scotia, or something that's, like, either the North American continent. The way I see it, and he's, like, probably either, like, from Greenland, he's Finnish, he's could be from the Isle of Man. You know, someplace that has a huge amount of like sea traffic, but they rely on the sea. You know, where he's lived, like, it was a shack. There was like a lot of rocks. Definitely not a very friendly place, but probably a place that has a lot of good fishing.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, let's see. He was riding on a horse along a rocky ledge, and he was wearing parka.
That was
That
Bruce.
looked stupid.
Bruce.
Okay. Huh?
That was Bruce.
Yeah, I know it was Bruce. I'm talking about just the trailer.
Right.
Okay, fine. Bruce was wearing a parka riding a horse over a ledge. It looks stupid. Okay, you're wearing a parka, you drive like a snowmobile or something like that. If you're going to ride a horse in that kind of weather, it's not going to be cold enough for you to wear a parka. Because that would be too cold for the freaking horse. Unless you were on a steppe horse. You know, like in the Russian steppes. Yeah, those are the big, stocky, really, really furry horses. Kind of like the way the Clydesdales come from. Those kind of horses. But they're shorter. Because there's not a lot of atmosphere, you know. So, like, they have to, like, you know, the people that live higher in the mountains, you know, they're shorter so that they have a less worry about their blood traveling through their body. Okay?
Is that like a Steppenwolf? And like going on a magic carpet ride?
You know what? Don't F with my song, alright? Do not F with my song. The fact that they're singing Come Together over me is a big plus.
It is.
Okay?
I was very happy with that choice.
Yes.
I thought that was very appropriate.
Well, I don't know that it's very appropriate.
Well,
you know.
Come Together as far as the whole bringing in different heroes together, come together, that makes, to me, sense for the video. That's...
Okay, so, like, you know, so is he the one who's, like, you know, toe jam football, and, you know, he's got to be good looking because he's so hard to see, so is that supposed to be Darkseid?
I think that might be the...
Because I always kind of got the figure that was supposed to be Rasputin, but, you know, I don't know why, but I always figured that person, the character who they're talking about in the song, was Rasputin, and I don't know why. I always just figured that.
Okay.
Anyway, besides the fact. Okay, so I don't think he's from anywhere except, like, some kind of, like, very northern, somewhere along maybe the British Isles, or maybe somewhere along in the Baltic Sea. Okay. That's the way I see Arthur Curry. Okay. Of course, his name Curry... Who knows? Because I don't know that name, so, I mean, we can look that up and see what nationality Curry is, you know. As far as Arthur is more of a British name. You know, the whole thing with King Arthur and whatever. So, but that makes no difference because somebody over there could just easily be called Zimbabwe if they wanted to because their parents are, like, you know, like to travel. Whatever. Anyway, so, that's that. Batman, I like the part where it says, what's your superpower? I'm rich. That was funny. I like that. Okay. I like the fact that they're using him as a Frank Miller Batman with the whole, like, you know, lightning bolt thing, like the Usami Bolt look, you know, and him going down and the big kind of chunky, stronger, more muscular Batman than any other
Slumber
Michael
version.
Keaton, Val Kilmer,
right?
Batman's, you know, where he looked like where the armor was all the muscle. But this time he looks like he's all the muscle. And I like that. Okay. And he's scruffy. And old. Which is where the whole Frank Miller thing comes from. Okay. Let's see. Wonder Woman. Always good to see her. Nice to see, you know. We already,
but not too much.
Totally,
but not too much in this video here.
Well, that's because they always have like all the video of her with her own movies. So
no, I know, and I think that's
probably the reason why they focus on everybody else. Okay, the Flash. He's kind of dorky looking in real life, but then again, he's always been dorky looking in the real life. Mm-hmm. It's strange not seeing him like with kind of reddish hair and freckles,
or blonde hair,
and freckles. But let's see. But then again, nobody else knows him, which is why when like Lex Luthor took over his body, he took off his mask. It's like, I have no idea who this is.
It's like, hey, you didn't wash your hands.
It's like, that's because I'm evil. Okay. Anyway, so. All right. But, it's electronic equipment, all this kind of stuff. It's not that Flash wasn't smart. And he wasn't a brain trust. I mean, he was smart. He was CSI smart. He's a scientist. But he's not. The way the stuff is, like, in his lab, in his house, or whatever, his
more
mother's
like a
basement.
Hacker.
Well, I guess maybe that's why it is, because it to me it looked like Tony Stark's, basement when he was in high school kind of thing, you know? It doesn't look like something that Flash should be into. But if he's a hacker, I guess that would make sense because the real Flash wasn't, the Flash that they always talked about was already an adult and working for the crime lab. So maybe since this Flash is like a high schooler, that's what he does, Cyborg, I'm still kind of confused about that. Is he Victor Stone, the high school student? Who was a great football hero.
That's why I saw the football
They showed the
shot.
football thing, but then who was that guy that was standing there? And
his father.
So that was his father. And then, like, that box.
The mother box.
The mother box. Oh, that was, like, part of the boom box? I mean, the boom tube thing?
Maybe.
Oh, the box from, like, the cartoon.
But
they left in different parts of the earth.
Right.
To open up boom tubes to let them in.
And which is why we see the parademon.
That's what I was wondering about. I thought maybe he was supposed to be Victor Stone, and that thing was actually the cyborg thing that's going to encase him, kind of like. What's the name of that movie? It's not Mantis. It was.
I love Mantis.
Shut up. Mantis was retarded. No, it was. Oh my god, I can't remember it now. It began with a G, I think. The Grant, no. It was like a.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. It was an anime.
No, it was live action.
I know. I'm saying it was
started out as an anime,
but it was made into a live action, and it was. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, and it kind of like encompassed this
the
kid.
Guyver.
The Guyver, yeah. So that's why I thought it was going to be something like the Guyver, like that was the thing coming out. I mean, I thought it was the parademon, but I still couldn't figure out. Because, everybody else had kind of, like, showed different things of him, so...
Right.
So I was trying to figure out what the hell that scene was supposed to be. So, okay, so that makes sense. I mean, that's what I thought it was. I was just kind of trying to figure out. I thought maybe that was more like supposed to be an origins part of the story.
Well, if you remember in the BVS version, we saw the video clip that was on the flash drive, and it's his father talking about the progression of the experiment, and then you see Victor in the background being put together, so to speak. So that's where we get that. But here, it looks like we're going to get more of that backstory.
Yeah. So maybe if that's like what happened in the New 52, how he actually is able to, I guess, not manipulate, but like originally merge into like the boom tube technology.
Mm-hmm. Right. Since he became part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so...
So, nothing with Superman.
Oh, and... No, nothing with Superman, but the fact that they're out in the middle of some kind of obviously snowy mountainside kind of thing, that is kind of like, oh, are they going to the Fortress of Solitude? That's what I'm wondering about. Because why else would they be out there?
Okay.
But that's only a supposition on my part, because that's what it reminded me of.
Right.
Then, after all that, talking about Arthur Curry again. Arthur Curry, badass with the tattoos. It was really funny. He was making fun of Batman, like he digs his bat costume, which is funny. And he's like the badass meathead from school who like to do all sorts of dangerous shit, drunk. And we decided that he's Lobo.
Yeah.
or as close to Lobo as they've come so far. Not that they've been trying to do Lobo, but he's very Lobo-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And I miss the orange shirt. Okay.
No.
I know, I'm kidding. From Quiver, I miss the orange shirt.
And no green gloves.
No green gloves, no green boots, no skin-tight green leggings, and...
No water, a hook for a hand or the water hand.
Water hand. Yeah, but that was after he had to save his son from...
I know, and it worked. It was kind of cool, kind of interesting to see that.
Having the hook, yeah.
Yeah. But, again...
But the fact that they showed Mira, I'm like, oh, hello.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I'm pleased as can be. Considering this is now the second trailer, I am not going to see any more.
Okay, yeah, I know. I know.
The third one gives away too much.
Okay, and then parademons flying around.
Mm-hmm.
So are they gonna, if they're following kind of like the way the New 52 worked, in a way, then does that mean that Wonder Woman and Superman are going to hook up, or is it going to be Batman and Wonder Woman hook up, or none of them are going to hook up?
I don't see that.
Yeah, I don't see that either. In the New 52, they do. That's what I'm saying. Also, in the New 52, in the first couple things like Throne of Atlantis and whatever, they have the whole part with like the boom tubes and Cyborg and all that kind of stuff, and like the DVDs and then the comics. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I thought was interesting was, I'm trying to think. Okay, well, Green Lantern's not there, so that's the other thing too.
Yeah, no, it's always been the four of them.
And then Green Lantern join later?
Maybe, but that may not happen until 2020 when we get the Green Lantern Corps. So after this...
Well, it better not be Ryan Reynolds.
No, it's not. We have the Part 1 coming out in November. Part 2 will be 1 year later, next year. And then we're going to get Aquaman. Mm-hmm. Flash is kind of an unknown because the director who was scheduled to do this dropped out, so I have no idea what's going to happen with that.
Okay.
We're going to get Man of Steel 2 somewhere in the midst before 2020. And then we have the Green Lantern Corps. So that's what it looks like. But like I've mentioned before, there's no way they're going to catch up to Marvel. There's no way they're going to have...
Well, they don't have to.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Marvel has basically, like the term that they, give somebody enough rope, they'll hang themselves with it. Have you heard that term?
Yes.
Well, that's what they've done.
Well, what I'm saying is that Marvel is
splintered.
No. I'm talking about as far as the franchise.
I know, but the thing is that it's turning into, as the Marvel turns.
I know. What I'm saying is that if DC is going to branch out and do multiple stories, like 3 sequels per character, that's not going to happen at this point.
Okay.
We'll see them once on the screen.
Well, what I'm saying is, and no matter how many reincarnations they can do with Spider-Man, how many reincarnations they can do of the X-Men and different things and whatever. If anybody ever asked you who the most popular superhero is in the entire world, it would be Superman.
Yeah,
Superman was the first. Batman and Wonder Woman.
Right.
Okay, they are the Holy Trinity. Okay? So the thing is that it doesn't matter how many times Marvel does this and does this and does this, whatever, DC will always trump them. Forgive me for using that term. It will always beat them because they were the first.
Right.
Okay?
I agree. That's why I've always been more of a DC fan.
And Superman is Jewish. So that makes it all better. Hey! It's true.
All right, so that's going to end my Monster Sci-Fi Show podcast, the Sci-Fi News podcast for this week, coming to you straight from my bed. Not that you can see me in bed, but that's what happens when you're the only one that does this. So next week, again, I'm going to be doing a review of Ghost in the Shell with Scarlett Johansson, which will lead into in May, my second Versus podcast, in which I'll be talking about the anime version of Ghost in the Shell versus the Scarlett Johansson live action. So that'll be the next one. So again, that'll be out in May. In April, second week in April, the Friday, I'm going to be doing my my rewatch podcast on John Carter. So if you like, rewatch along with me as I'll be talking about it at length. All right, so enough of that shenanigans. I am off to bed. Actually, I'm already in bed. All right. So enough of me yammering. I'm just going to move all the equipment off me so I can go back to watching Iron Fist and having my rest of the day filled with sadness. So thank you very much again for listening to this podcast. You can follow me on the various social networks. You can always email me at themonstersci-fi@gmail.com. So again, thank you for listening to the Monster Sci-Fi Show. Sci-fi from a certain point of view. Good night.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network, your station for all things geek, classic, current, and beyond. Be part of the crew at ESONetwork.com.